Elon Musk delivers a strong message to worried farmers around the world. Tesla CEO Elon Musk speaks to farmers' concerns about the environmental catastrophe. The dispute over the ecological emergency frequently comes down to ecology versus agriculture and urban versus rural areas in many Western nations. This is especially true in Ireland, where the country's unique greenhouse gas profile explains why the discussion over reducing harmful emissions has long been a hotly debated topic that is growing the gap between the city of Dublin and rural areas. According to the Regional Environmental Protection Agency, agriculture was responsible for over 38% of Ireland's total national greenhouse gas emissions in 2021. The nation is only minimally industrialized, and its agricultural sector is heavily dependent on raising cattle, which is particularly damaging due to ruminants' large-scale methane emissions. After carbon dioxide, CO2, methane is regarded as the second largest greenhouse gas. According to the World Methane Pledge, it is described as a powerful but short-lived climate pollutant that accounts for about half of the net rise in global average temperatures since the pre-industrial era. Consumers frequently believe that cutting emissions requires closing coal-fired power plants, switching to electric vehicles, and utilizing more solar and wind energy, all of which are expensive. But other policies are also being taken into consideration. A significant international pact was signed in 2021. In order to prevent more than 0.2 degrees Celsius of warming by 2050, the United States, the European Union, and more than 100 other nations have agreed to reducing global methane emissions by at least 30% from 2020 levels by 2030. In Ireland, fewer livestock, especially sheep and cattle, means fewer methane emissions. The farmers have been extremely anxious as a result of this policy. According to a recent article in the Farming Independent, the Irish government plans to cull 200,000 dairy cows in order to combat the climate catastrophe. To reach the targets for reducing greenhouse gas emissions, the cows would need to be culled, which would cost taxpayers €600,000 over the following 3 years. The Farming Independent claims that the material it contains was obtained through a Freedom of Information request from an internal government document. In response to the debate this story started, the Department of Agriculture said that the document was a modeling document. The worldwide CEO Elon Musk, however, believes that a strategy of decreasing polluting emissions by slaughtering cattle is ineffective because he advocates for a sustainable energy economy. This was just said by the CEO of the electric vehicle firm Tesla in response to the data from the Farming Independent. On June 3, a Twitter user wrote, "The effort to kill life of both animals and humans in the name of climate action is essentially evil." Ireland wants to slaughter 200,000 cows to combat climate change. "This really needs to stop," Musk said. "Some cows being killed won't make a difference to climate change." Because the tech tycoon is one of the great defenders of the earth, he wants to save with his many companies, Tesla, the Boring Company, and SpaceX. Musk's viewpoint is likely to reassure farmers. According to the June Irish Livestock Survey released by the Agriculture and Horticulture Development Board, Ireland has about 2.5 million dairy and beef cows. The nation, which promised to reduce emissions from the sector by 25% by 2030, has seen a steady increase in emissions from agriculture. For every 100,000 dairy cows eliminated, the government predicts that 0.45 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emissions might be averted. Over the past few months, Musk has shown his support for farmers, even though politicians and environmentalists want them to stop using fertilizers and other items that contribute to global warming. Fertilizers and livestock waste are two sources of nitrogen, a greenhouse gas. For Musk, it is unacceptable to protect the environment at the expense of farmers losing their employment. On March 6, Musk proclaimed, "I'm super pro-climate." But in order to address climate change, we most certainly do not need to lay off farmers. Never at all. The word of encouragement was published following a farm protest movement in Belgium. The Flemish government's plan to cut nitrogen emissions and its threat to close the dirtiest farms were resisted by the farmers. Fertilizers and livestock waste are two sources of nitrogen, a greenhouse gas.